All right, gonna go live for a little bit of Christmas Eve streaming, everybody. Gonna start in a moment. I'm gonna see if we get anybody, and if we don't, I was bored, so we'll have fun. Give me a second here. I gotta tweet out the stream real quick. By the way, the chat is open, so feel free to say hi in the chat. All right, got that tweeted out. We've got people. Hey, we've got 3 people watching already. All right, so let's get into this. All right, welcome back to WMAC Now with your host, Chuck Stevens, and welcome to the Christmas Eve WMMA and chill stream. I'm not going to get like too serious about things tonight. I just wanted to talk some WMA. I haven't gone live in a month at least. So I just want to talk some stuff. I screwed up what was supposed to be the WMA report episode 41 the other night. Scheduled it for Thursday, but it was meant to be Friday. And then last night, came home after waiting for 2 hours at Pizza Hut for food and freezing because for some reason Pizza Hut doesn't turn on the heat anymore. And came home, ate, and then passed out. Woke up at like 5 minutes to 10. I was like, well, I'm not ready to stream. So List Seal in the chat with some beers. Well, I don't have beer. I have some whiskey. So I'm going to sip on that a little bit tonight. But yeah, I just want to talk about some different topics going on right now in WMA. Some of them are like real recent. Some of them are a couple weeks old. Things I just wanted to discuss about. We're also going to talk about some upcoming fights. We've got a couple women's fights happening just a few hours from now. Pancrase 330. So we'll preview those real quick. And got Ryzen 40 is next weekend. And just going to talk about some stuff. And we're going to keep it chill, relaxed. Like I said, the chat is open. Please hit that like button. Lets people know we're going live. And we're just going to have a little bit of fun here. So, by the way, the stream gets better the more you interact with it. So, Judy V is in the house. Merry Christmas, Judy V. Says Merry to everyone. First topic I want to talk about is Juliana Pena. Oh, NHJ is in the house too as well. Merry Christmas, Jay. Juliana Pena, I think she's gone a little bit crazy lately. I mean, not crazy like insane crazy. I just think that she's being like really delusional right now. I'm gonna show you what I mean here. Let me pull up this article here. This is courtesy of WMMA, or was it WMMArankings.com, which I'll admit I used to absolutely tear into WMMA rankings, and when I thought they weren't very good, and people got mad. Some people got mad at me for that, but I gotta tell you, their website's doing really good work lately. First of all, the layout is really nice, and the work that they're doing has been really great. So let me enlarge this article here. I'm going to read along with you. It says, Juliana Pena says Amanda Nunes UFC trilogy is, quote, the only fight I see in my future. I finished her the first time. I ran out of time the second time. And that second line is what I really want to focus on. So it says Juliana Pena is adamant a UFC trilogy against Amanda Nunes is the fight to make. Pena shook the world last December, submitting Amanda Nunes in the second round to become UFC bantamweight champion. In the rematch this past July, she would lose the belt to Nunes by way of a unanimous decision. Now 1-1 against each other, Pena believes the trilogy fight is the only way to go next. During a recent chat with MMA Junkie at the World MMA Awards, Pena doubled down on calls for the trilogy and said it's the only fight she wants right now. The champ Amanda doesn't have a fight, and former champ soon to be and new champ does not have a fight. Well, that's a mouthful to refer to herself. Former champ and soon to be and new champ. Okay. That's a mouthful. Anyway, get back to the quote. So I feel like that's the only fight to make. That's the only fight that makes sense for me, and that's the only fight I see in my future, she said. Continuing on, she said, for me, there could be no other answer. They're making Davison Figueiredo versus Brando Moreno 4 for Pete's sake. I finished her the first time. I ran out of time the second time, and I allowed her that opportunity to make those adjustments and to go back and change those things in that camp in the rematch. I absolutely feel like the kosher thing to do would be to allow me to make the same adjustments, she continued. Okay, so here's where my problem starts. That fight might make sense for her, which is what she says, that's the only fight that makes sense for me. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the fight that makes sense for, say, the UFC, or that it's the only fight that makes sense for Amanda Nunes. They might, right now, I think bantamweight is almost wide open. And Nunes is going to have a choice of contenders right now. And when you stop and think about it, okay, yes, she finished Nunes the first time, but Amanda Nunes absolutely dominated her in the second fight. I mean, Pena didn't win a single round. 2 judges gave her 1 10-8 round. The third judge gave Nunes 2 10-8 rounds. I mean, it really doesn't get much more dominant than that. Now, I realize that some people are going to say, but, Pena had her moments in the second fight. And, okay, maybe, but they were like so few and far between that it's really hard to point them out. So just because that's the only fight that makes sense in her eyes doesn't mean that that's the fight that makes sense for the UFC or the champ. Okay, the second part, when she says they're making Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno 4 for Pete's sake. Yeah, they are. And I don't necessarily agree that there should be a fourth fight. But man, those fights have been so good. All 3 of those fights have been absolutely great fights. Back and forth. You never know what's going to happen in those fights. Again, Pena got absolutely dominated in the second fight. It was so bad, it really did make the first fight look like a fluke. Okay. Says, I finished her the first time. Yes, she did. I ran out of time the second time. You had 5 rounds. How many rounds do you need? How many rounds do you need? Now, she might be meaning this, though. And this might be what she means by I ran out of time the second time. And I allowed her that opportunity to make those adjustments and to go back and change those things in that camp in the rematch. Yeah, that's how fight camps work. Okay, so she might mean she ran out of time as in she ran out of time in the fight, which to me is just delusional rubbish. But she might also be referring to I ran out of time as in, there was so much time in between the first and second fight that it allowed her to go back and make those necessary adjustments. So now she's saying, I I absolutely feel like the kosher thing to do would be to allow me to make the same adjustments. If that's what she means by she ran out of time, then that makes sense, and it's a little bit less delusional. But it really does kind of come across as, oh, I ran out of time in that rematch. You had 25 minutes. You don't get any more time than that. Excuse me. Where were your adjustments between the first fight and the second fight? Where were your improvements between the first fight and the second fight? Because just because you won the first fight doesn't mean you go back and just do the same thing over again. You've got to work that much harder now. You're the champion. You've got to work that much harder in order to stay ahead of the pack. And the first pack that's coming is going to be that dominant champ who's more than likely going to get a rematch. Because unless the UFC absolutely wants to get rid of someone as a champion, if you're dominant and winning lots of fights, you're going to get a rematch right away. I mean, the only fighter who really didn't get an immediate rematch that was absolutely dominant as a champ was Jose Aldo against Conor McGregor. They were not. UFC was not going to let that happen. All right, so I just feel like, I don't know. The Venezuelan vixen says Amanda Nunes had the opportunity to come up with a new game plan for the rematch, and she now wants the same opportunity with the trilogy. Again, this goes back to what were you doing in your camp between the first fight and the second fight? Because if you think you're going to go in there and just automatically do the same thing, you are doomed to fail. Which personally, I don't think she's in that good of a camp. Pena, like, it seems like all of that coach's fighters, their main attribute is to go out there and out-tough their opponent and outlast them. That's not a winning formula for the most part. She says, that was my first time going 25 minutes. I never fought 25 minutes before. That does kind of suck. Like that kind of sucks for fighters. Because unless you get like a non-title main event, you really never get an opportunity to go 25 minutes. But that's how it's been for years. Years. Back when I started watching the sport, and I don't think they added, I forget what year the UFC started adding non-title 5-round main events, and they went to the commissions to get approved for all of those. But before that, your only 5-round fights were in championship fights. So you really had to work hard in camp before a title fight. Says I would say just a whole jumble of just disorientation and in terms of feeling like, oh crap, she had the balls to fire everyone, build a new gym and start from the ground up. And I just want that same opportunity to be able to change some things, go back to the drawing board and kind of solidify my name and legacy in this division and the UFC. Here's the thing though. Yes, Amanda Nunes was basically had that opportunity. But she earned it. She earned that rematch opportunity Amanda Nunes earned the opportunity for that rematch based on the years of work she had put in, being a dominant champion, dethroned Miesha Tate to win the belt, dethroned Chris Cyborg up at featherweight, and had just put in all the work necessary. She earned all the chances, time to do that stuff. She earned those chances because of all the work she had put in before that. Pena was a one-and-done champ. She won the belt, lost immediately. it's like you don't really get, the special treatment if that's all you've known, if that's all you've done. Because the only other thing that Pena has to her name was being an Ultimate Fighter champion, and that's it. And that was a long time ago now. I mean, that was the season that was coached by Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey. That was a long time ago. So yeah, I just feel like Pena's being a little delusional here, just a little bit, at least, at least this much. It is delusion. It's like, why do you feel that you should be allowed that? What have you done to earn it? Yes, you dethroned a dominant champion, but then she went back and absolutely dominated you in a rematch. Yeah, she's just being delusional. Let's go to the chat. Easy E says, I'm a huge Pena fan, but the reality is you're only good as your last fight. That is the most true statement in this sport. And she got utterly decimated. She needs to chill a bit. There really is no reason for a rematch. I don't feel there is. I agree with that. I also think the UFC is trying to make the Val and Amanda super fight before Amanda calls it quits. She's already hinted at retirement, so the UFC is going to try to get one last pay-per-view payday out of her. Well, all of her fights are payday, or you have pay-per-views. But I don't think her versus Valentina really sells that many. I really don't. And I personally think the 25-minute thing is an excuse. If you're really in top shape, you can go 25 minutes with no problem with proper pacing. 5 rounds are all about pacing. Yeah, I agree. If what she was referring to was running out of time within that fight, you had 25 minutes. You shouldn't need more time than that. NHJ says Holly didn't get an immediate rematch against Miesha. Yeah. Holly did not get an immediate rematch against Miesha. And Holly had just dethroned Ronda Rousey. Her popularity was as high as it was going to get. She didn't get an immediate rematch. And she was on her way to winning that fight. At worst, it was going to be a draw. At best, it was going to be a decision win for her. And then she got choked out in that final round. They didn't give her an immediate rematch. So yeah, Pena being a little bit delusional. Let me I gotta change what I'm sharing here. Okay. Oh, that's not what I want. What the heck? Hold on a sec. Why isn't this coming up? All right, hold on a sec. Oh, there we go. Okay. Maybe it's just me. But I feel like the flyweight divisions in both UFC and Bellator are like just I can't think of the word I was going to use. But man, are they a mess right now. I mean, these flyweight divisions are an absolute mess right now. Because we have these dominant champs that are almost seemingly unbeatable. You've got the rankings that are all topsy-turvy and screwy. And yeah, they're just a mess, I think. And I can't think of the word I was going to use. And it's horrible because it was in my mind all week. And now I can't bring it up. But yeah, I feel like both Bellator and UFC's flyweight rankings are shambles. I think that's the word I wanted to use, was shambles. Okay, let's look at Bellator first here. So you got Bellator. You got the champ, Liz Carmouche, who, admittedly, I'm not a fan of. But you got to be honest here. She's pretty boring. I mean, yes, she has been finishing her last few opponents. But even when she finishes fights, it's like her fights are just completely forgettable. Other than her win over Kana Watanabe. That was a highlight worthy finish. But other than that, it's like even when you're finishing opponents, it's like your fights are bland and forgettable. Liz Carmouche, to me, is like, she's a horrible champ for Bellator. She's old. She's boring. She doesn't have a big fan base. And honestly, she's not that marketable. Other than the veteran grift, which means plastering her being a Marine everywhere, which Bellator likes to do. Other than plastering her being a Marine everywhere and working that veteran grift, which as a veteran, I really bugs me. Other than that, she's just not marketable. And then you've got the rest of the division. And you look at these rankings and you're like, and you look at the fighters they have right now. It's like, oh my gosh. So number one, Juliana Velasquez. She shouldn't be number one still. She lost to Liz twice. Why is she ranked number one? She's not going to get a title fight again anytime soon. She got finished in the first fight. Very controversial, but it's on the record as a finish. She appealed it. She lost the appeal. She got finished. She lost the second fight. Got submitted. Then you have Kana Watanabe. She got knocked out by Liz Carmouche. How are you going to get knocked out or TKO'd by Liz Carmouche, who on the feet, by the way? How do you get knocked out on the feet? TKO'd on the feet by Liz Carmouche. Come on. So she's not getting a title fight anytime soon. Then you got Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, who, after losing the belt, is now 1-2 since the. She's 1-2 currently in her last 3 fights. She beat unranked Bruna Ellen by I think she was it. Did she finish her? Or did she get a decision? Let me check real quick. Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. She got a decision against Bruna Ellen. But she lost to Juliana Velasquez, and then she lost to Justine Kish. That was supposed to be her tune-up fight after losing to Velasquez. Justine Kish was basically supposed to be the tune-up fight for her, and she lost that. So she hasn't justified a title fight anytime soon. Then you got Deanna Bennett. I like Deanna Bennett. I think she's hilarious. She is one of the few genuine characters in the women's divisions because she's just funny. And she is an absolute character. But, I mean, let me pull up her record real quick. She's 13-7-1. She already lost to the champ. She has 1 win over Alejandra Lara. And then since then, okay, technically she's won her last 3 in MMA. But she lost to the champ already. But other than beating Justine Kish by 2 decisions, twice this year, that's all she's done was beat Justine Kish twice this year. And that rematch was dumb. Like, that second fight was pointless. Then you got Denise Kielholtz. who already lost to Velasquez in a close decision, I'll admit. But then she lost. Then she got submitted by Watanabe. So she's nowhere near a title fight right now. Vita Ortega. I like Vita. She's tough, but that's it. Laura Joanny is finally starting to show some promise. She just beat Velaz Kielholtz. Yeah, she just beat. That's right. She just beat Kielholtz. Sumiko Inaba shouldn't even be ranked. And I like Sumiko. I cannot wait to see how her career develops. But she's just coming off a win over a fighter with an upside-down record. Come on. Then you got Justine Kish, whose only decent win in years was Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. And then Vanessa Porto, who was doing great in Invicta, and then it's like she just hit that wall. She has absolutely hit a wall, and her career is on a downslope. Then, after her last win, Liz Carmouche went back to talking about basically pulling the same thing that Macfarlane was trying to pull before she lost the fight. Oh, I think they should open up a bantamweight division, and I would love to fight Ilima-Lei for the title. Get the F out. I'm gonna enlarge my screen. Get the F out of here. Okay? Bellator doesn't want a bantamweight division. If they wanted a bantamweight division, they wouldn't have opened up the two divisions on either side. They opened up the featherweight and they opened up the flyweight because they knew UFC already had bantamweight on lock. If Bellator wanted a bantamweight, they would have had one. And the only people talking about bantamweight is Liz and Fatty Macfarlane, because Ilima-Lei Macfarlane is too fat and lazy to want to make flyweight anymore. That's why she was talking about retirement for so long, because she was tired of fighting, tired of cutting weight. And yes, I feel justified in calling her Fatty Macfarlane, because I will never forget one time she was on the desk at a Bellator event with Jen Brown, or was it Jen Brown? The blonde lady whose last name is Brown. It was like 4 months since her last fight. She was looking chonky and straight up admitted, oh, I haven't been back to the gym yet since my fight. She's like, I like to take these long breaks and not worry about it. And it's like, that's why you lose. That's why you lost your title, because you lost that drive. You don't have the drive, and all you want to do is sit on your butt and get fat. 4 months away from the gym. Come on. I don't think that was even after a loss. I think that was after a win, too. It's like, no. Get out of here with asking for a bantamweight championship. Who are you going to fill it with? Who are you going to fill it with? Get out of here. Look, I know that they're friends, but come on. Get out of here. So, yeah. Bellator featherweight, absolute shambles. Judy V says, perhaps discombobulated is the word. Well, they're definitely discombobulated. NHJ says, everyone craps on flyweight, but isn't bantamweight objectively worse? That's debatable. That's debatable. But right now, I would say UFC bantamweight isn't nearly as big of a mess as Bellator flyweight. At least flyweight has some prospects, at least in the UFC. Yeah, I agree. Now, I will still say that Sumiko Inaba in Bellator looks like a legit prospect. But they are really slow rolling her. I mean, really slow rolling her. Easy E says, come on now, I like Liz. I knew this was coming. In saying that, though, wrestlers really don't make for exciting fights unless you're Michael Chandler. I really do love wrestling MMA, though, especially dominant wrestling. Maybe if she was a better ground and pounder, but she's not. NHJ says, Watanabe is far from top level and Bennett is a journeyman. Yeah. Yeah. Easy E says, pineapple ice cream princess. Yeah, she's eating some ice cream, all right. Judy B says, Julie Kedzie. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. I do want to talk about that a little bit later. NHJ says, Alima Malay puts on pounds between fights. She gets chonky. I mean, she's still pretty, but she puts on the weight between fights. Good Lord. All right, so let's talk about UFC now. UFC flyweight's a bit of a mess too right now. The champ only fought once this year, which normally I wouldn't like for a champion to only fight once in a year. But the division needed time to catch up and try to build up new contenders. But you look at who's there right now. Manon Fiorot, number 1. She's trying to call out anybody but the champ and making excuses for why. Immediately after she won, she called out number 5, Alexa Grasso, saying, I'd like to have another 5-round fight, please. Can I fight Alexa Grasso? No! You just beat the number 1 fighter to become the number 1. The only person you should be calling out is the champion. If you're not ready for the champion, don't fight the number 1 fighter. Turn down that fight. You don't turn down a title fight. You don't become the new number 1 fighter after beating the current number 1 fighter and then go, oh, I'm not ready to fight the champ yet. Get the F out of here then, because clearly you don't want it that much. Tyler Santos arguably won that fight. Arguably won the fight against Valentina Shevchenko. Shevchenko has zero interest in rematching the number 2 fighter. Some people are saying that she's ducking Santos. Santos is saying that Shevchenko's ducking Santos. I'll leave that up to you. Yeah, Claude says Manon wants Nama Yunus now, LOL, SMH. Yeah, she did an interview where she's like, well, if Rose Namajunas comes up to flyweight, I'd like to fight her. So now you want to fight a strawweight? You want to fight another strawweight? Didn't you already get enough of fighting strawweights in the UFC when you beat Tabitha Ricci? Now you want to fight Namajunas? And then Manon's excuse is, well, my knee's still injured. I'm still recovering from my knee. And by the time I'm ready, Valentina Shevchenko might not want to wait that long. So, maybe I'm looking to return in August, blah, blah, blah. She's looking to do everything but call out the champ. She's ducking, okay? Manon Fiorot continues to duck Valentina Shevchenko. Period. All right. Lauren Murphy is number 4 is about to fight number 6, Jessica Andrade. I think that's going to be a good fight. I think people have largely written off Lauren Murphy. And I'm not saying that Murphy's necessarily going to win. I just think that people are writing her off a little bit too much. They're not giving her enough credit because she's absolutely tough. She's one of the toughest fighters in the UFC, at least in the women's divisions. Okay. So 4 and 6 are busy. It looks like it might be number 5 that has to fight the champ now. And people were calling her a duck when she said she wanted another 5-round fight before facing the champ after she beat Viviane Araújo. But it's funny because the people that were calling her a duck, most of them don't have the same energy for Manon Fiorot, who beat the number 1 and then avoided calling out the champ. Which, as a Grasso fan, obviously grinds my gears. So look at that. You've got the top 6. Oh, I didn't even mention Katlyn Chookagian, who's coming off the loss to Manon Fiorot. So out of the top 6, not one of them is calling out the champ. Two are booked. Or no, I'm sorry, one of them is calling out the champ, but the champ doesn't want to grant her that fight. And then out of the other five, two of them are booked, and three aren't trying to fight the champ. Oh, well, two aren't trying to fight the champ. One, they want more 5-round experience, and then Chukagian's not going to get that fight because she's coming off a loss. It's like, geez. So that top 6 is an absolute shambles. Then you got number 7, Viviane Araújo. And listen, I've never been a huge Araújo fan, but man, I think the UFC is trying to just completely get her out of the top 10. Okay. I think Grasso was like 10 or 9 when she fought Araújo, who's like 5 or 6. And now she's down to number 7 after losing to Grasso, and they're booking number 10 Blanchfield against Araújo. So not only are they giving Araújo a big push, trying to get her up into that contention area real quick, but they're trying to push Araújo out. Like I said, I've never been a big Araújo fan, but I feel for her because, yeah, they're trying to get rid of her. It honestly looks like that. Let's see. Then you got number 8, Jennifer Maia. She's just coming off a win over Marina Moroz, who was number 15 at the time. Oh, wait, who's? Now I'm forgetting something. I know that there's a fight book that's like really big. Right, but who's? Or no, I got it. I'm sorry, I messed up. Araújo is getting royally screwed. Royally screwed. It's not even. I thought Araújo was facing Blanchfield. No, Araújo is getting it worse than that. Araújo is facing Amanda Hebos at number 15. So she's barely getting a ranked win. And Amanda Hebos, let's be honest here. Hebos should not be ranked at flyweight. And I know someone's going to say, but she had a really close fight against Katlyn Chookagian. Close doesn't count. She lost. And why should she be ranked at 1-1 at flyweight in only 2 fights? I don't feel Marina Moroz should have been removed from the rankings. She was 3-1 in the division. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, Araújo at number 7 has to face the number 15 fighter. They're really trying to get rid of her, while at the same time still trying to push Amanda Hebos. Santos is the one facing Blanchfield. So they're really they're screwing Santos too, because she's at number 2 and has to face the number 10 fighter. She loses to the number 10 fighter, she's going to go down several spots in the rankings. And Blanchfield's going to skyrocket if Blanchfield wins. Now, it could very well be too much too soon for Blanchfield. And that's a big worry because I'm a Blanchfield fan. I think she is the future of this division if she makes the necessary improvements. But this might be too much too soon. Then you got Casey O'Neill, Andrea Lee at number 9. I can't remember if she has a fight booked or not. I think she's fighting Barber at 12. Could be mistaken. Don't quote me on that. O'Neill isn't quite back yet from injury. She just started fully training again, which is great because I want to see if she can keep up the good work. She got a lot of haters too, which I feel, other than a little bit of disrespect towards Roxanne Modafferi, which Modafferi didn't deserve, I feel like O'Neill gets a lot of undeserved hate. Cortez had to pull out of her fight against Hebos. We don't know what it is. There's speculation that it's pregnancy. Calvillo, she's a mess too. So yeah, this is a really fluctuating division right now. It's like you've got some of these contenders in here in the top 10 that UFC is trying to push out by pushing the lower ranked fighters up against them. They're trying to push out with the old and in with the new. It's like the UFC is really trying to force it. You've got people who don't want to fight the champ, but should be wanting to fight the champ. Yeah, this is a bit of a shambles right now. So let's go to the chat here. I'm behind right now. Okay. Easy E says, I don't blame Manon. She's not even remotely ready. Val eats her for lunch right now. I'd have more respect for her if she just said that. No shame in not being ready. Yeah. Just say you're not ready. But then again, if you're not ready to fight the champ, I got to go back to, if you're not ready to fight the champ, then don't fight the number one contender. Because once you beat the number one contender, you don't go back down. You got to go up. NHJ says Rose is a big atomweight. No. She's actually on a bigger end of strawweight now. Like, she's put on muscle over the years. I mean, she's tall and lanky, so people think she's really small, but she's put on a lot of muscle over the years. Claude says, after all the S talk about being able to beat Val, I have no respect for Manon now. All right. Yeah. Ready skill-wise, I mean. Easy, he says, yeah. Judy V says, I think Manon is not ready for Val. I don't think she is either, but just come out and say it. Like, yeah, I'm not ready. Easy E says, Judy V, exactly, not even close. That would be a murder. Claude says, Roger Allen said today that the UFC wasn't interested in the Tyler Val rematch. I don't know why. I think a lot of people were interested in that rematch. I mean, you go on social media and that's what people are saying. And AJ says, I like Andres versus Murphy. Good fight. I do too. Catlin Ish to Kajian, of course. In my opinion, Val will wipe the octagon with her, says Judy V. I'm referring to, guess you're referring to Manon. Claude says, Grasso won't fight Val either. Yeah, she came out and said, like, hey, I'm not ready yet. At least I can respect that. She's like, if I remember correctly, after her win over our Ujo, she said, if the UFC wants, she actually said, like, if the UFC wants me to fight the champ, I'll fight the champ, but I'd like to get more experience in another 5-rounder first. I mean, at least she said, if that's what the UFC wants, I'll do it. Whereas Manon's just straight up like, no, I want to fight the number 5 fighter. Claude says they're pushing Hebos and Blanchfield because of the Grasso and Fiora limp tails. That might be why. That could very well be why, but no, they've always liked Hebos. They've been pushing her hard for a long time. Easy E says, saw Aaron Blanchfield's interview on Morning Combat, and I must say I'm a bit of a fan. She gave a really intelligent interview and seems very poised for what she's up against. Yeah, she's a smart cookie. Like, she does not fit into the stereotype of dumb fighters. She's smart, and she has a good team behind her. I think that fight against who's she fighting now? Santos. Might be too much too soon, but I'm confident that Blanchard at least will go in there with a solid plan. He says, I hope beating Molly McCann didn't give her false confidence, though. I know regional amateurs that could wreck Molly right now. Yeah. I don't think so. I think she has a good head on. I think Blanchfield has a good head on her shoulders. Claude, big step up for Blanchfield, but the UFC wants fighters willing to step up to the plate. Yep. And her stepping up to fight number 2 is proof that she's willing to do it. Easy E. Calvillo should have never left 115, but I see why she did. She looks fat at 125. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think she's talking about going back to strawweight now. It's like, well, why didn't you just get your weight under control then? NHJ, Cortez had to pull out due to thickness, but she made weight. She made weight. The doctors pulled her out, which is what, yeah, she was like 124, I think. No, she was either 124 or she was like 125 exactly, which is championship weight. And then the doctors pulled her, which is leading a lot of people to think that it was because of speculation. She said she wasn't feeling fine. So people out there are thinking pregnancy. Which, I mean, and you watch, anytime you see her and Ortega together, because she's dating Brian Ortega, it's like they're all over each other. So it's like, God, get a room. Clyde says Tyler is not as much of a draw as Manon or Grasso. Well, Manon would be a draw in France, assuming that the French fans will get behind her. But I don't see her being a draw in the U.S. Grasso would definitely be more of a draw for sure. She's cute. She likes to stand and trade. And she's got that Mexican fan base. Like we know she's got that Mexican fan base behind her because she also does commentary in Spanish for the UFC. So, Spanish language fans are constantly hearing her during UFC events. So she definitely has that built-in fan base. All right, so you may or may not have seen the video, but I am sponsoring Christina Warhorse Williams in her fight against Ketlin Souza at Invicta FC 51. They'll be fighting for the now vacant Invicta FC flyweight title. I did make a video on this. If you haven't seen it yet, please go check that out. You'll see my logo on her uniform, on her banner, and on her walkout shirt. So, let me bring that up real quick. So she announced her walkout shirt is available for pre-order. So, that's not what I wanted. Let me pull up her Instagram real quick here. Excuse me. Wish there were a smoother way to do this, but apparently there is not. Chrome tab. Are we on? Yep. Okay. So, by the way, you can already see my logo. She's already representing the channel very well. It says check out the YouTube channel of my latest sponsor, WMMA Now, and hit subscribe. Fortunately, only got one like. Oh well. Here we go. It says, get my official walkout tee for my Invicta FC January 18th title fight now. Link in profile. Pre-order will run through January 3rd. And once it ends, these won't be available again. So you can kind of see it on the back here. It says sponsor logo placement. So my logo, I'm pretty sure, will be on there as well. So if you want, go to her Instagram page and TKOcombatsports.com/shop/warhorse. In fact, you know what? I'm going to copy this And there is a link now in the chat. If you want to get a Warhorse walkout tee, go ahead and get one. Because they are only available for pre-order, and the sale ends on January 3rd. But really excited to work with Christina Williams. You know, like I said in the video, I've been following her career, like her whole career, other than one fight. I think I missed the one fight in like XFL or whatever it's called, and or XFC. Thank you, by the way, NHJ, for the super chat. Appreciate that. You didn't have to do that, but it's appreciated. Yeah, I've been following Christina her entire career, all the way back when she beat. Maybe there's a clip here. No, okay. Oh well. Yeah, all the way back when she beat Heather Hardy, made her pro debut in Bellator against Heather Hardy. So really excited to work with her. As soon as I saw her post saying she was looking for sponsors right here, I said that I got to jump on it. I have to jump on it. It's a great opportunity. Already got to sponsor a fighter that fought for Combate Global. Now I got to sponsor someone for Invicta. Definitely. And it's great to help out these fighters. And somebody in my comments asked, like, they thought that sponsoring fighters was only for like big companies. Let me tell you something. You don't even have to be a company, period, in order to sponsor a fighter. Sometimes it's just when they reach out looking for sponsors, just say, hey, I'd like to sponsor you as an individual. And you can do it. Or sometimes like groups of people. So you get a bunch of individuals in a group and they'll sponsor a fighter. Like I know when she was in Invicta, there was a group of people that would sponsor Miranda Maverick. They even like made up their own logo for their little group, and they would sponsor Miranda Maverick. So it doesn't take much to sponsor a fighter other than money. For me, this is coming out of pocket. Like my channel's monetized, but it does not make enough to sponsor the fighters. But so I do this out of my own pocket because I really want to help these fighters. And oftentimes the best way you can help them, besides doing what I'm already doing and talk about them all the time, sometimes it's shell out that money, you know. So really excited to work with Christina Williams on this. Let me bring back my thing here. So yeah, go check out Christina's Instagram. It's Warhorse MMA. She has a Twitter also at Warhorse MMA. I don't think she has a YouTube. I don't think she does. Go check those out. If you want to pre-order the t-shirt, again, it's in the chat. Because then in a way, that's you helping out the fighter when you order their merchandise. And sometimes that helps. Sometimes that's enough. You know, I always talk about helping those that help the fighters. Sometimes they go to companies that, you know, will make an official shirt. Sometimes they just do their own thing for every fight. But like I say, help those that help the fighters. I made a video about this one, but this one is exciting. Japanese women's MMA legend Satoko Shinashi, that's her in the red, is back. She'll be taking on Reina Kobayashi. on December 11th. It's basically set up to be a squash match because Shinashi has like over 30 fights. I think she has close to 40 fights. Kobayashi, on the other hand, is only 2-2. But on the other hand, Shinashi is coming off a 3-year layoff. She last fought in December of 2019. So you got 2020, 2021, 2022. Been out for 3 years. She's also going to be, she's 45 right now. She will be turned 46 next month. So she'll be 46 years old. And she's coming off of a TKO loss. So this is a chance. This is a good chance for Kobayashi to get a win here and make a name for herself. Because the last person to face Satoko Shinashi, Mizuki Oshiro Nisei, who I've talked about a bunch on the channel, she was the last person to beat Shinashi, and that basically made her name. She made her name off of that win. But Shinashi is always in for exciting fights. She usually either finishes or gets finished. Now, she has lost decisions before, but for the most part, she either finishes or gets finished. And when she finishes, it's usually by submission. So that always makes for excitement. Also, with this fight, she will tie Roxanne Modafferi's record for the most fights in women's MMA history. Okay, so I used to cover Road FC a lot because they used to be a lot more active. But now they barely put on events anymore. And they have completely changed their format. They are now going into a PFL type of format where they're going to have like 4 or 5 divisions and they're going to run on tournaments. Unfortunately, the atomweight division does not carry over into that new format. So their last atomweight champion is Shim Yuri, or Yuri Shim for the Westerners. I have no idea what this means for her future. Obviously, she's not going to be a champion anymore. I don't know if this means that she is now released from Road FC. Like, I think Road is still going to have, the non-tournament fights, but I don't know how much the ladies will still be involved. So, unfortunately, for fighters like Yuri Shim, Jung Park, Yunha Hong, it seems like everything's up in the air for them. We just don't know what's going to happen. I hope it means that they let Shim out of her contract so that then she can go fight elsewhere. If not fighting elsewhere in Korea, then she can go fight in Japan and be way more active as an atomweight. She can go fight in Deep Jewels. They might try to book her for Ryzen. If they let her, if she's not stuck in her contract, which she's been stuck about, she can get a lot more opportunities. And she's a darn good striker, too. Her ground game needs work still, which tends to happen when you train out of a striking-based gym that has a hardwood floor. But her striking's on point. So hopefully she gets out of that. Just wanted to talk about that for a minute. Easy E says, have you ever thought about getting into fighter management? I had a share in a local gym, but it went bust because the head coach was embezzling. We had good prospects, but that ruined it. I never tried. No, I wouldn't. I have a full-time job already that wouldn't allow that. And it's hard to be a fighter manager. You've got to understand the laws. Like, you got to go and get contracts written up. So then you got to pay a lawyer for that. You got to know fighters. You got to know gyms. You got to know fighters, and you got to build relationships in order to get these people to trust you. It's ridiculously hard. And I don't have the time for that. And frankly, it wouldn't be worth the time that it would take away from the job that I have that has benefits. It would cost me so much, more than I'd be able to make. And I salute the small time managers that are really dedicated to it, like Jason, I forget his name, but does Underdog MMA. He has a bunch of fighters in Invicta. You know, he's a small time manager, but man, that dude makes a lot of sacrifices for his fighters. So I salute guys like him that are fully dedicated to it. Also, not only do you have to build up relationships with managers and gyms, then you got to build up relationships with promoters. It's like, there's too many shady people too in fighting because, like Easy E said, he had a share in a local gym, so it was basically like a part owner. But it went bust because the head coach was embezzling. Yeah, there's way too many shady people in the fight business to ever really want to get involved in it for me. Next up, hey, should be a nice distraction next weekend. We've got Rose Namajunas versus Jillian Robertson in a 135-pound no-gi grappling super fight at Fury Grappling. It's going to be on UFC Fight Pass. I think this should be fun. Listen, I mean, Rose has become way more known for her striking over the last few years than her grappling, but you know, a lot of her early wins, most of her early wins were by submission. And she's always been very good in the scramble and fast. Whereas Robertson, that is her game, is the ground game in MMA. So I think this should be a fun grappling bout between these two. And you know what? If it's MMA fighter versus MMA fighter in grappling, I really don't mind it. Because at least the footing should be somewhat equal. Unless it's like a grappling-based fighter versus a striking-based fighter and they're grappling, then it becomes a squash match. And nobody really wants to watch like squash matches. So this should be fun. I'm looking forward to this. That's next Saturday. Oh no, next Friday. Next Friday? This coming Friday, I should say. December 30th. At 2300 Arena, wherever that is. But speaking of grappling squash matches, look at this one. Danielle Kelly, grappling superstar for one championship, is taking on Ayaka Miura in a catchweight submission grappling bout. So Ayaka Miura, who spent most of 2022 out with injury, is coming back in a submission grappling bout against someone who only does submission grappling. Really? Really, one championship? Really? Really? If I wasn't doing a chill stream with just talking about random topics, I wouldn't even bring this up because I'm sick of hearing about seeing Danielle Kelly. I'm sick of seeing one championship pusher. It's like, unless you're going to put her up against some legit BJJ fighters, I don't want to hear about her. And this is just another example of why. I mean, Ayaka Miura, she's a good grappler for MMA, but she's basically a one-trick pony, and that's not going to work in submission grappling against a full-time submission grappler. And also, she's an MMA fighter. She's not a grappling competitor anymore. Who knows the last time she competed in judo? I don't think she's ever competed in no-gi submission grappling that I know of. I mean, maybe some local tournaments in Japan, but that would be it. It's like I'm just really sick of these squash matches and submission grappling. That's all one championship is doing lately is squash matches. Meanwhile, I'm going to stay on this tangent for one more minute. One championship. I believe she's still under contract, but one championship has under contract one of the best women's grapplers ever in Michelle Nicolini. And she just won gold, 2 golds at the IBJJF Worlds in California in the Masters division. So why is Danielle Kelly grappling Ayaka Miura, who's mostly an MMA fighter now, instead of Michelle Nicolini, who is back in grappling competition and is legit grappler? Well, I guess I kind of gave it away. One Championship's not trying to match up Danielle Kelly against legit submission grapplers. No gi fighters. They're just not. They're basically trying to, I'm going to pull an example from boxing. You may or may not know the name Gervonta Tank Davis. His whole career has basically been built around trying to build him as a pay-per-view star without actually having to really put in the hard work and fighting the names that would get him the real recognition. But they're trying to build him up as like a star anyway without having earned that recognition. And I feel like that's what One Championship is trying to do with Danielle Kelly. She doesn't have any high-level grappling wins under her belt. She doesn't, as far as I know. Let me check Wikipedia now real quick here. Just cover my tracks real quick here. Let's see if she even has a Wikipedia page. No, she doesn't. So, excuse me. I'm trying to see what kind of record we have. Okay, let's go to bjjbear.com. She's a black belt. Trained some Silver Fox BJJ. Trained under Coach Carol Pravel. Earned her black belt in 2020. She's from Philadelphia. 26 years old. 5 feet 5 inches, 115 pounds. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, that doesn't really have a record either. So we'll just go back to Topology. I know they have her individual fights, like her wins over here. So listen, you look at a lot at her record, and a lot of her big wins are against MMA fighters. She has the draw against May Yamaguchi, the win by cut over Carla Esparza, which was a stupid win. Like, that's a stupid way to announce a win for grappling. Let's see. Loss. She has a win over Catherine Malaris. Doesn't sound like an MMA fighter. She's not. So that's a grappling win. I have no idea who she is. She has a couple wins over Jessica Crane, who, as far as I know, is a grappler. But here's the 2 names that I do know that I recognize on her win. Oh, she has a win over Cynthia Calvillo and Jillian DeCourcy, MMA fighters. She faced Grace Gundrum twice and lost. Grace Gundrum's like not even 18 yet, I believe. Let me check. She might be now. Oh, she's 20 years old now. Grace Gundrum's like a whiz kid in grappling. But that's like the biggest name that she's faced, as far as I know. And she's lost. She's also faced Jessica Khan. And she lost to Jessica Khan. Now, I will give Kelly credit. She said she wants to face Jessica Khan again. And she basically said, like, I know people are saying I'm avoiding grapplers, so I'd like to face Jessica Khan, just so people don't know that, just so people can stop saying that I'm only interested in facing MMA fighters. It's like, oh, wow. So you want to face someone you already faced once before. I don't see you calling out what's her face now? I'm getting sleepy. Don't see you calling out this girl. She's already signed to one. Anyway, if you think there weren't fights this weekend, you're wrong. In just a few hours from now, Pancrase, 3:30, Christmas Day, which in Japan, which is like a little less than 2 hours from now, we've got two ladies bouts. We've got a strawweight bout between the champ and a non-title bout, Karen, the champion with the red hair here. And then we have an atomweight bout. If you're One Championship fans, you should remember Zenny Juan. She's going to face this tanned monster here, the girl that spends too much time in a tanning bed. Let's bring these fights up here. All right, Pancrase 3. You got to be kidding me, Tapology. Tapology doesn't even have Pancrase 3:30 up on it yet, an event page up yet. Which, that's not entirely their fault. That's also on Pancrase's fault. But first up, we've got Sayako Fujita taking on Zenny Juan. I don't even need to look up Zenny's record. She's 5-5 with 1 no contest. Made her name in One Championship, especially when she won via Gogo Plata. And then her very next fight, they set her up against Angela Lee, who beat the absolute crap out of her. And her career's been on a downslide ever since. But she took a break for a little while. She's been in Japan full-time, training at AACC, where like Ayaka Hamasaki and so many other fighters fight at. So I'm hoping she does well here. She's taking on Sayako Fujita, who is currently 6-1. This is set up to be a squash match for Sayako. Juan will be her most experienced opponent by far. Now, Fujita, if you don't know Sayako Fujita, she obviously loves the tanning bed. She lost her first bout against Emiko Raika, which shouldn't have been fighting her. Raika's like a flyweight. But ever since then, she's been fighting very specific opponents. Her second and third fight, or her next 3 fights, she fought Koreans. So she fought Yuri Shim. Yuri Shim was 2-1 at the time, but Yuri Shim at the time still had very poor takedown defense and almost 0 ground game. And Sayako is a wrestler. Then she fought Shiyu Park, who again was still primarily a striker at the time. She did not have the Shiyu Park that you see in Rising now, total night and day from the Shiyu Park that Sayako Fujita fought. Then she fought Jay Che, who was 2-0 and had no business being in there at the time. Then she finally fought a Japanese fighter again, Panakata Minori. So Sayako was 3-1 and fought a 1-0 fighter. Then for her Pancrase debut, the Pancrase 310 back in 2019, she fought Yerin Hong, who was making her pro debut. So 4-1 fighter fighting a debutante. Come on. She takes a few years off, goes and does becomes a personal trainer, becomes a bikini fitness competitor, which she already liked tanning Beth even before that. Comes back, fights in September. She faces Yoki Harada, who was 1-3-1. It's like, I get it's a comeback fight, but at least fight somebody with an even record. Come on. Now she's fighting Zenny Juan, who has an even record. But Juan, when was the last time she fought? Jenny Juan hasn't fought since January of 2020, where she got a no contest against Joe Marie Torres and won. Due to she accidentally, low blowed Torres like twice, and Torres couldn't continue. But before that no contest, she was on a 5-fight losing streak. So technically, she's still on a 5-fight losing streak. It's like, come on. It's like, so you finally give her a fighter with experience, and big show experience at that. But it's a fighter who hasn't fought in almost 3 years, going on 3 years, basically, and on a 5-fight losing streak. Come on, Pancrase. So if you can't tell, I'm cheering hard for Zenny Juan in this one. Whether or not she wins, I don't know. If you go find the weigh-in pictures, man, Sayako is yoked for an atom weight. Juan, who I always knew was a legit atom weight, fighting at 115 and one championship. She looks about the same as she always does. So she has not been hitting the weights, from what I can tell. Then we have Karen taking on Salt. So we have the Pancrase champion in her second consecutive non-championship bout taking on Salt, who, let me see if I can look up her real name real quick. Trying to find it here. JP. Yeah, Haruka Hasegawa. Salt has a 1-2 record. So here again, we have another squash match. Come on. I mean, I realize it is strawweight in Japan. And strawweight's almost non-existent anymore in Japan. Like even Deep Jules has practically given up on strawweight. But the borders are open. Bring in a foreign fighter. Come on. At least book someone with a winning record against your champion. But I'm still cheering for Karen. I'm Team Karen all the way. And she's promised a bloodbath in this fight. So she likes to elbow on the ground. So we got Pancrase. Easy E says, how is Robertson at ATT and not even a decent striker yet? Here, BJJ is awesome, but that stand-up is atrocious. Doesn't make sense. So she's not at ATT anymore because Dean Thomas left. Her main trainer is Dean Thomas, and she went with him. Now she doesn't even. Well, actually, she does have like a new home gym now, kind of. She's at Goat Shed in Miami, which is actually a pretty decent gym. Don't be fooled by the name. I know it's Goat Shed, so you're thinking of like a barn, but it's a pretty decent gym. They have a lot of fighters in Combate Global. Easy E. I used to be a diehard boxing fan until the governing bodies ruined the sport with the millions of fake championship belts. Excuse me, they hand out. I just can't take it seriously anymore. Yeah, boxing's hard to keep up with. It's very difficult. Also, Easy E. Yeah, I'm going to be up pretty late tonight watching Pancrase. I've been into Pancrase since the Boss Rutan days. Yeah, I'm old. Shit. Like you were watching Pancrase like when Boss Rutan was still fighting? Wow, that's that was a long time ago. For those watching that aren't familiar, Pancrase had their first event, I think like a month before the first UFC. So we're talking like 1993 or 94. Robert Sothman says, come on, a Gaijin? No. Yeah, you got to bring in some foreign fighters sometimes. I mean, it's the only way Japanese fighters are going to know how good they are. Judy B says, Easy E, I guess that makes me over the hill. LOL, age is just confused numbers. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I've been feeling old lately at 38. Not my favorite bourbon. Also, finally, I think this is it. Yep. So, if you want to watch Pancrase 330, you have to be, it is on YouTube, but you have to be a member of Pancrase's channel. So if you don't know, and I don't have this available yet because I don't have the active enough subscribers, and frankly, I'm not going to charge people to watch my stuff. But Pancrase, you can, some channels that have enough subscribers can have memberships to their channel. And to watch Pancrase 330 live, you have to be a member. It is like $14.99 a month. So if you don't plan on watching Pancrase all the time, you can like join the channel and then cancel the subscription. Watch the show and then cancel the subscription after. So that might be what I do, because $14.99's a bit steep, but it's better than what Pancrase was doing before, because they used to go through this online pay-per-view thing where it's like you had to order more than 24 hours ahead of time. So if you forgot to order it until the day of, you were SOL, which was the dumbest thing ever, because most people only buy pay-per-views the day of. So if you want to watch Pancrase 330, it has, I think, 1 or 2 championship bouts, plus Karen, who is a champion, but in a non-championship bout. Go to the Pancrase YouTube channel. Just search Pancrase and you'll find it. And join the channel. So finally, not going to get too in-depth on this because I'm working on a preview for this bout. But next weekend, Ryzen 40, we have the Super Atomweight Grand Prix Championship, a rematch between Seika Izawa and Shiyu Park. These two fought at Deep, I forget, 104th Impact or 105th Impact back in 2020, 2021. Let me go look it up now. They fought at Deep 104th Impact in October of last year, 2021. Izawa won a unanimous decision, but it was a good fight. Very good fight. I posted it in the community tabs of the channel page. So go check that out if you haven't yet. Study up, and both fighters have improved even since then in just, under 2 weeks. What did I say it was? October? October. So even just a little over a year, they've come a long way. They've made their Ryzen debuts, and they've made it through the Ryzen tournament. to get to this final. Now, personally, I would say that Park had the tougher matchups overall. She had to get through first Kana Asakura, who stylistically should have given her trouble with the wrestling. And then she had to face Ayaka Hamasaki, who should have been a heavy favorite. I think was a heavy favorite in that fight. And Park got through Asakura, whereas Izawa had to get through, what's her face first. She got through Laura Fontoura, who gave her some trouble, but still ended up getting choked out in the first round. And then she faced Anastasia Svetkivska, who had actually lost in the first round against Reina. Reina got eliminated, and Svetkivska got brought back in, and Izawa ended up beating Svetkivska in the second round. But Svetkivska gave her a good fight. I got to give Anastasia credit. She gave Izawa a good fight. So these two are going to rematch. It is not for the championship, the Super Atomweight Championship that Izawa holds, but it is for the Grand Prix Championship. Now, if Izawa beats Park, obviously their rivalry is pretty much done at that point, at least for a while. But if Park wins, then you set up a trilogy fight, a rubber match, because then they're 1-1, and Park will have a win over the current Rizin champion. So in a fight that is technically non-championship bout, it's only for the tournament, the Grand Prix Championship. So if Park beats Izawa, then they got to have the rubber match with the championship on the line. I'm excited. This fight, I feel like, is flying so much under the radar. I don't understand it. This should be like the biggest fight of December as far as the women's go, and I just feel like nobody's talking about it, and I don't understand why. I think part of it is like so many people are hyped up on Izawa right now, and it's like, yeah, I get it. She's great. She's phenomenal. She's a future star. Well, Park has been coming on. I mean, she beat Asakura, and a lot of people had Asakura as a favorite, and then she beat Hamasaki. A lot of people thought Hamasaki would beat her. A lot of people thought Reina would beat her. She beat Reina. It's like, come on. Park is like, this is her time right now. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Shiyu Park because they're just amazed by Seiga Izawa. But you got to go back and watch that fight. Now, yes, Park fouled Izawa. She kicked her in the head while she was on the ground. But had that fight been under Rizin rules, the way Izawa was acting, that fight would have been done. She'd have been finished under Rizin rules. So if you keep that in mind, the Rizin rules with the striking, with the knees to the grounded opponent, with the kicks to a grounded opponent, and the stomps that are allowed, those are really good weapons for Shiyu Park to use. And again, Izawa has those up kicks. So if Izawa goes to the ground and gets like either pulls guard or gets taken down, if Park takes Izawa down, which would be phenomenal, like mind-blowing. But if Izawa's on bottom and Park's on top, Izawa's up kicks are just otherworldly. This fight is going to be fire. Now, it is on Rizin 40. It is viewable. It is like New Year's Eve. So like early morning New Year's Eve if you're in the U.S. So early December 31st. It is on Fight TV, fight.tv, or the Fight TV app. Now, the Bellator versus Rizin segment is technically not included in that charge in the US if you're watching on Fight TV, because those fights are going to be taped and aired later on in the evening in the US on Showtime. Now, I cannot advise you on how to do this, but allegedly, if you have a VPN and set it to a different country on Fight TV, you can order the full show and watch it live. Allegedly. I can neither confirm nor deny those rumors, and I would not tell you to steal an event. I would never advise people to steal an event, but technically it's a pay-per-view already, so you're paying for it. But so yeah, order it. It's $15. $15 for the year-end show in Japan, which is, they're always great. Rizin always puts on great year-end shows in Japan. They are literally the successor to Dream, which was the spiritual successor to the legendary Pride events, and New Year's Eve are always huge in Japan for fights. You got to check this one out. And you got, even if just for this fight alone, if you are a hardcore WMA fan like I am, the $15 for this fight is worth it for me. But then there are a bunch of other great fights on the card too. So keep that in mind. So before we close out, and that's next week. Tonight, later tonight, is Pancrase 330. Next week, we have Rizin 40. So before we close out, we've been going for an hour and a half. I did not expect to go that long. Because, you know me, I most of the time my live streams are short. Let's go to the chat. Easy E says, Boss Rutan versus Frank Shamrock trilogy. Bangers. Classic Pancrase fights right there. Yeah, those are bangers. Also, you can go watch those. I believe they're still available on UFC Fight Pass. Easy E. Yeah, Izawa versus Park is going to be fire. People sleep on Rizin these days. Yeah, they do. A lot of people have been sleeping on Rizin lately. But he says, but Rizin runs a damn good show when they get away from the circus stuff. I agree, and they've largely gone away from the circus stuff. Like sometimes they'll bring in some silliness, like the Shibata guy. But for the most part, you know, they've gone away from the silly stuff. Like no more Gabby Garcia versus Grandmas. Ivan, or is it Ivan or Ivan? Says New Year's Eve is my favorite event. Also says even New Year's Eve, even UFC's New Year blockbusters were great. Well, they usually do stuff like around Christmas, but this year they just did nothing anywhere close. But Pride Rizin is pinnacle in my view. Yeah, for New Year's Eve, definitely. Greg Fuller, welcome to the chat. Nice beard. Well, nice shades too. Are those look like Ray-Ban Club Masters? I actually have a pair of those. But Craig Fuller, welcome to chat, says, Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Craig. And Judy V says, Happy holidays to everyone. Enjoy. That's right. Enjoy. And with that, I am going to let everybody go. So, before I go, got to do my little call to action. Please hit that like button. Should have been asking it more often throughout the thing, but I was too engrossed in what I was talking about and forgot about. Please hit that like button. It'll draw people to the stream even after it's done. Hit those likes. That gets that YouTube algorithm going. Share the stream. I know most of y'all have social media, so share it. You know, spread the word. Get that channel going. I had a goal to get to 5,000 subs before the month was out. And YouTube just really killed the channel growth at the start of December due to a certain copyright cuck that I won't get into. And it killed my channel growth in December. So currently at how many subs? 4,923 subs. I know 77 subs is a lot to get in a little over a week, but try to spread the word. If you got friends that are MMA fans, let them know. Let them know about the channel. WMMA Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Even if they're casual fans, I'm not like, hey, if you like the ladies fights in the UFC, you got to check this guy's channel out. That's all I can ask you to do. Actually, the least I can do is ask you to hit the like button. Then subscribe yourself. And then if you want to go the extra mile and help out the channel, then, spread the word. Until then, Merry Christmas. God bless us, everyone. I will see you all sometime this week. We're going to do the last live stream of the year. Will be either Thursday night or Friday. We're going to review Pancrase and get ready for Rising. See you then.